Hey everybody, it's snowing outside. Yes, I love it. So exciting. I can't wait to get out there and play around in this snow. I'm standing here in the camper today because I'm tired of sitting. I am ready to get out there, which kind of goes with the theme of our Bible study series that we've been doing. Tired of sitting? Serve. Tired of sitting? Serve. I'm tired of sitting and I'm going out in the snow soon. But first I need to take care of this. And interesting. I'm not just going out into the snow to have fun on my own. I'm going to go out into the snow and get ready for the bonfire that is this week. You will have missed it by the time this video gets posted, but we're going to stack up some wood, have a good time, and senior high will gather around the bonfire, and maybe we'll just be able to connect. Something that I thought maybe we'd all enjoy. So I'm going to try to serve today by getting those things ready. Anyhow, we are on session 4 of Tired of Sitting Serve. And by this time, if you haven't gotten off your butt yet and started to serve others, you probably won't. Well, I don't want to give up on you. If you haven't done it yet, do it! Do it! Be one of Jesus' disciples. Get out there and do something for somebody else. If you have, by this point in time, you probably relate to those 72 disciples that were sent out in Luke chapter 10. You've probably been in some uncomfortable situations. You've tried to take care of things for other people or put yourself out there at a step of faith and found that you yourself were kind of in an awkward situation. Maybe you called someone to find out how they were doing and you spent 20 minutes listening to them and they never said anything about you. Awkward. Maybe you did all kinds of other things for other people and well, you kind of felt like no one was there taking care of you. But you've been realizing over the last few weeks, haven't you, that your joy and your purpose in life doesn't really come from other people. It comes from knowing you're doing God's work. So joy is probably come into your life. You've been doing things for other people for God's sake. Not for their sake, for God's sake. And it's been good, hasn't it? It's been good. Maybe you even have a supernatural thing to report. Maybe by serving others, you saw some really cool stuff. Like you reached out to somebody and then they got back to you and they were like, how did you know I needed that encouragement? I was going through a hard time. Those things happen to me all the time. And it's so powerful to know that you're listening to God's voice and his timing's perfect. I ask you this question though. What's the best part of serving? Is it knowing that you're provided for by God? Is it the supernatural stories? No, the Bible tells us the best part of serving doesn't have to do with the adventure itself. It doesn't have to do with the activity or the trip. Sometimes we think missions trips, it's all about where you're going to go, right? I hope we go to a really exciting place this year, or I hope we get to do this or that. It isn't about any of those things. It's about what comes when you are a servant, when you are a follower of Jesus Christ. When you follow Jesus Christ, you gain access into a very special place. And that place, of course, is our heavenly home. So we're going to look in the Bible at Luke chapter 10. And I'm going to read, let's see. Let's go from 18 to 20. The disciples came back to Jesus and they told him about all the epic adventures that they had had while they were serving him. Jesus says, yeah, I saw all those amazing things you were doing. It was like I saw Satan falling from heaven like lightning. You guys were doing such amazing things that Satan himself was falling from heaven. Look, I've given you authority over the powers of the enemy. You could walk among snakes and scorpions and crush them and nothing would injure you. Jesus says, though, that was all exciting stuff. I know it was quite a trip following me, wasn't it? But, verse 20, and this is really the point of the whole study this week. But don't rejoice because evil spirits obey you. Don't rejoice because you've seen the supernatural. Rejoice because your names are registered in heaven. That's the best part of being a servant. Being a servant means gaining access into the master's home. And the master, of course, is God the Father, and his home is heaven. And if we're servants, we gain access into heaven. Hold up, it isn't because we do things for God and then somehow we get in good with him, like, I'll be your servant if you let me into heaven. No, it's deeper than that. Choosing to be a servant means choosing to follow Jesus. That's a matter of the heart. And when our heart is right with God, when we confess with our mouths that Jesus is Lord, when we believe that he rose from the dead, we'll be saved. That's what Romans chapter 10, 9-13 tells us. Everyone can be saved that way. We don't get saved by serving, but we serve because we're saved. When Jesus is Lord, he's our example. Jesus says, don't rejoice because of all the exciting things that have happened to you while you were a servant. Rejoice because you know your names are registered in heaven. Some Bibles don't use the word registered, they say inscribed. It's the same idea, and inscribed really means hand forged or chiseled. It isn't just written. It reminds me of when God wrote or inscribed the 10 Commandments in Exodus 34. The Bible tells us that God carved them with his own finger. Have you ever made anything like that? I remember back in high school in art class, we made stamps. We got a sheet of linoleum and a carving knife, and we had to spend time carving that thing and really paying attention to it and carving out that block so that it would say our name. And then we'd ink it, and then we'd put it down on paper. And of course, because I didn't listen to the teacher as well as I should, I carved mine and I inked it and I put it down, and then the stupid thing was backwards. When God inscribes our name, he does it with a tremendous amount of care. When we become a part of God's family, he inscribes or writes or registers our name in the book of heaven. And this is a hands-on experience. It isn't just some quick note. Hey, where did I put that book that says everybody that's going to be in heaven? No, it's like God himself carved your name. Rejoice about that, Jesus says. That's the best part of being a servant, is knowing that your name is in heaven. That's fantastic. God inscribes our name in heaven. He has his hands on us. God showed us his love by sending Jesus. The Bible tells us in John 3:16 that God loved the world so much that he gave his one and only son so that everyone who believes in him wouldn't have to perish, but have eternal life. He didn't come into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world. That's John 3:16 and 17. Can you see it? It's an action. God inscribing something means he's doing something. It always goes back to following God. We're serving God because God serves. It's amazing. The more we're like God, the more we understand God. And we understand God to be loving and good and hands-on. So we should be loving and good and hands-on. See, when our eyes are on him, we become like him. I'm awful grateful for that. It's easy to see your name in heaven when you keep your eyes on Jesus. Jesus is the proof that God inscribed our names into heaven. Jesus is the proof of that. When you read through the Bible, in the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which record the life of Jesus, you see what it looks like when God inscribes a name in heaven. He sends his son to love on sinners. That's what it means to have God's hand on you. It's easy to see your name in heaven when you keep your eyes on Jesus. Sometimes when we take our eyes off Jesus, we start to forget and we start to doubt, and we have all these insecurities. Have you been there before? I wonder if I'm really saved. I wonder if I'm really a believer. I wonder if. Oh, our vision gets so small and we get so panicky and we get so self-absorbed. Oh, maybe I didn't say it right or do it right or this or this or this. It's so crazy when you're thinking that way. When you're unsure if you're a Christian, it's almost always because you aren't looking at Christ. You're looking at you. Oh, I wonder if I did it all right. Or I wonder this. No, it's not about you. It never was. It's about serving. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Look at who he is. Look at how he lived. Look at why he came into the world and who he spent his time with. Just how much he loved us. And you'll be sure of your salvation. Inscriptions are awesome because they don't go away. They're carved. They're there. You know what my favorite organized sport is, right? It's hockey. I love hockey. It's an exciting game. Anything can happen in a game of hockey. Hockey has the absolute best trophy. That is an indisputable fact. I don't care. You might like the trophy for Major League Baseball. You might think that's great with all the little pennants all around it. You might like the trophy for the Super Bowl. You might like all those things, but I'll tell you what. The Stanley Cup is the best. You know why? The Stanley Cup is, first, it's presented to the actual players. If you win the Stanley Cup, the players get it, not the owners, okay? So many other sports, it's the owners that get the trophy, and then maybe the players get to touch it. No. In hockey, the players get it. And what do they get? They get this big, massive cup that has their name inscribed on it. And not just their name, the name of the players, the name of the coaches, the name of the assistants, the name of all the people involved in the program gets carved into the Stanley Cup. That's why it's so big, and that's why it's so grand. It's a permanent record of the accomplishments that they've done. I wonder, did I win the Stanley Cup? Well, why don't you take a look at it and read it? If your name's on there, you won. I wonder, am I really saved? Am I really a Christian? Well, why don't you keep your eyes on Jesus? You'll know you're saved. Everything about Jesus says you're saved if you simply follow him. And of course, the best way to keep your eyes on Jesus is to live like Jesus. What would Jesus do? He'd go into the world and he'd love it in God's name. He'd heal the sick when he can. He'd be an encouragement to the lost. He'd confront sin in the best way possible. He would be tolerant of people and intolerant of the sin that hurts them. There are so many things we can learn by serving. I hope you've enjoyed this study in Luke chapter 10. Jesus says again, don't rejoice because you've seen amazing things. Rejoice because your name is registered in heaven. If you want to get excited about this life, start serving and start doing it by keeping your eyes on Christ.